welcome to a very special Contending at the Water Cooler podcast. I'm Contending co-founder Megan McLachlan, and I'm here with a very special guest to talk about the brand new Netflix documentary series, Amy Bradley is Missing. Very special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Megan, for having me on. I'm super excited. I'm Lauren Cohen, the director of programming of Miami Film Festival.
Yay! I was going to say, like, you and I go way back, and you put on such a good festival every year. I just saw Oh Hi, which I missed at Miami, yes! But I thought of you when I watched it, and it was so good. So,
oh my gosh. Well, I mean, for the listeners, I mean, Megan and I became friends pretty much over Instagram because we are both hardcore Babygirl fans.
Yes, yes.
I was like, we're similar people. I knew we'd get along right away. So,
and then when you were like, "Oh, I'm into true crime," I was like, "Wait, stop! Like, what? You're into true crime too?" Like,
yeah, exactly. I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think my computer just froze.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. But yeah. So actually, you're the one who alerted me to the story of Amy Bradley and the documentary series that was coming out. For those who haven't watched, they should stop what they're doing and go watch it right now. But so I'll introduce a little bit. Amy Bradley is Missing is a 3-part documentary series from directors Ari Mark and Phil Lott about how a young woman named Amy Bradley went missing off a cruise ship in 1998 and has never been found, despite sightings of her in Carousel through the years in Barbados. I found the series incredibly captivating, but Lauren, I know you've probably consumed more about this story than anybody I know. How does Amy Bradley is Missing, how did it hold up for you?
So it was super interesting. I've seen so many different specials on this. I've been, aware of this case for like a decade because it was on an episode. This is super random, but of course, most people are familiar with the Natalie Holloway case. When she went missing, obviously many, many years ago, following her disappearance, her mother started a show called, oh my gosh, well, I'm forgetting the name at the moment, but it was a missing person case called Vanished. And it was, I think it only lasted for about 2 seasons, and it was following cases similar to her daughter's of missing person cases that were never solved. And it was with the intention of bringing awareness to the public and of course trying to get tips or information from somebody who saw something or may know something, and because of the media attention. So I saw this on this very random show that most people have never heard of, hosted by Beth Holloway, like over 10 years ago. And I thought it was the craziest thing I ever heard. So then I kind of went to the, every couple of years or however long, I would just kind of Google Amy Bradley. Like, it's one of those things that maybe it got solved and it wasn't ever a big enough case that it would be on headlines on our TVs or on our, computer screens. Of course, there was never any information, never any updates. And then it was on another missing person case that I watched called a show called Disappeared, which has been on for about 10 plus years. And that's also is a much more popular ID TV show that follows unsolved missing person cases. So then I watched that special, have consumed as much as I can find online about it. So this was super interesting to me because this had some information that actually was not in previous specials. Then there were some things that were left out. So I feel like, between all the different specials, the 3 main ones, I feel like I kind of have a pretty full picture. But the most interesting thing about this one was that in the previous coverage I've ever seen in the case, they never mentioned that Amy was gay.
Really?
And I thought that was fascinating because, in at first glance, you would say, why is that pertinent information?
Right. Yeah.
But I do think the fact that this one has, an interview with her girlfriend, it felt like something that, and then you find out that Amy's parents were not entirely, supportive or not, thrilled about when she came out. I feel like it does add shades to the case that are interesting.
Definitely, because then that supports people's theories that she jumped, which is what some people say, or fell.
Right. It adds not a motive. It adds a level of, could she have been struggling with her mental state because of her lack of, her family's lack of acceptance? That's one thing. But what I think is interesting is to me, it also colors like, what would have her, I was like, was she, interested in Yellow, the band member? Was it a kind of a romantic thing for me if I was hanging out a lot with somebody on a cruise ship of opposite, it would, you imagine, be a romantic interest. If you met someone, you're dancing, you're drinking, you're partying, you're going out till 5 a.m., maybe leaving the dance and going somewhere else. That would typically be what I would assume is the narrative behind that.
Yeah.
And so if it's someone who's, if she's gay, I'm kind of like, well, what was happening here? That definitely is what, almost more than the suicide thing, which I've never bought. I'm just like, they're talking about all the, flirty and sexual interest people on the ship were giving her. And I'm like, is this kind of, I don't know the right phrasing. Is this something her parents were projecting on her because they wanted her to be straight?
That's
if they're
really
saying
interesting.
every guy's eyes, heads would turn every time she walked in the room. It's not for me to comment on, is she attractive enough? But I'm saying she wasn't a pretty girl. I wouldn't have defined it the way they did. And they were so aggressive with those narratives about every waiter being interested in her and every man and everyone's flirting with her. And after finding this information, I almost felt like it's something they've been saying over the years, almost as it fits better with the image of what they wanted to view their daughter than it may have been as accurate to how the things played out.
I was wondering about that too, just because they probably told the story so many times, and then things that you think about and then you overthink about, and then it's like, I'd almost wonder what do they actually remember at this point, and what has been just the story they've rehearsed for themselves. That's really fascinating though. And you're right about Yellow, the whole Yellow of it all, which we'll get to.
Oh my God. I literally have like a timeline here. I'm like, oh, it's so overwhelming. And I'm just like, I don't even know where to start.
So there seem to be like two camps of people with this story. As I said, there's the people who think she fell in or jumped in, and the people who think she's trafficked or was trafficked. I tend to think B. Do you? So you tend to think B too?
I tend to think B too. I think what's hard about this is like, we're both very into true crime. And typically, because I read so much about this, I try to like, talk myself off the ledge or kind of even out my thinking, because I think it's very easy to get to the craziest possibility or serial killers, all these things. And sometimes when someone goes missing, it's literally not any of these things. So I tell myself, the simplest answer is usually the right one. And I try to think that all the time. In this case, I do understand the simplest answer is that she went overboard, right? That is that she jumped or fell. Not that I think that is very easy to believe, but it is the simplest, much simpler than a mass human trafficking conspiracy from a major cruise line. That is difficult for anyone's brain to jump. It is preposterous. But I cannot keep my brain from going there with this case. And I know how ridiculous I sound. And I went on these Reddit forums and everyone's like, you guys are idiots who think this. And I am aware that they all think I sound crazy right now. And I still cannot take another theory. So I'm curious why do you hold on to that theory, even though we know how hard it is to believe that someone was trafficked off a cruise ship? What kind of leads your brain to think that?
Yeah, I think, so do you think there is a huge conspiracy, or do you think it's just as simple as Yellow just trafficked, or like Yellow had because that's I know some people were like, oh, she was smuggled out into I don't necessarily think that.
No, I don't think I'll say I don't think it's a conspiracy. Like there's a bunch of people from the cruise line and the crew. No, I don't think that doesn't make any sense that they would target first of all, I think not that I'm an expert in human trafficking by any stretch, but I am aware of the idea of people who don't have families who are going to be looking for them. Yeah. That, someone that will disappear easily, obviously, or more easily than someone who has 3 family members with them on the trip does not make sense. That, for a conspiracy, that is dumb, because these people are going to cause a problem. They are going to look into it. So conspiracy starts to make your head explode a little bit. That's a step too far. I do think it was Yellow. Where I start to have pause, even though that is what I believe happened, it is, how did she get from her cabin room off the ship? That's where the part starts to malfunction. Had she just gone from the party where she's seen dancing with him and then was never came back to the room, I think I'd say, okay, she's been drugged, she's been whatever, and put in a cart and surreptitiously taken off the ship before everyone was let off, something like that. The fact that we see at 3:40, her key card shows she went back to her room with her brother. They were hanging out on the deck or the balcony of their room, and her dad wakes up, sees her leg at 5 a.m. or something like that, or 4 something.
And they were like docking too. They were like docking, right?
Right. They're in the process of docking. He sees, her legs laid out through the, window or whatever of his, bed, and he's laying there, and then falls back asleep. And I think within like 45 minutes or something, he wakes back up and she's no longer there. And that was weird enough for her dad to be like, let me get up and look for her, because I think they were sharing the room, or they were all in the room.
They were all in the room.
All hours of the night. So if she was partying until 3:40 and now she's not in the room, you're like, well, nobody stays awake for a full, that's pretty intense to be out all night, literally.
Especially with your parents too.
It's just, and that it was an early day because they were getting ready. It was a port day. So they were getting ready to excursions and get off the cruise. And I think they were all planning on meeting at like 7 a.m., breakfast, and getting an early day on the island. So he was more worried than maybe someone else would be. Cruise ships have a lot of activities. So many things you could be doing at any hour, but it obviously kind of stirred him a little bit, enough for him to get out of bed and start looking around the ship for her. I have a hard time understanding what timeline would lead from her to be out there after the night of partying. She came home. What would get her to leave the room?
Yeah.
I have one friend that thinks somebody could have had drugged her and then climbed the balcony, whatever, gotten into the balcony or whatever. And I'm like, that's too many steps too far for me. I can't, that's too hard.
What about the theory that she was wanted drugs and that she was going because I kind of buy that one. And even that one woman was like, oh, I heard that she wanted drugs. It's so crazy how many different versions of Amy there are too.
Of course. Yeah. The parent version is the idealistic, perfect. And that's sort of I saw a meme recently that made me laugh, that it was like, you know what? I never want to light up any rooms ever.
Yes, I always think that too. Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
If I ever go missing and someone says she lit up a room, I'm like, no, I did not. I swear I didn't. You heard it here. If I go missing, they're lying. I light up 0 rooms ever. It's just the go-to, rose-colored glasses. I'm sure she's an amazing person. Most people are, but people talk about someone in these settings in a very specific way, and her family, in line with what we were saying before, have created this narrative that feels very exaggerated. That doesn't mean she wasn't a pretty girl. Doesn't mean people couldn't have thought she was pretty. It has been so blown out of proportion that you start to think they are just rose-colored glasses, telling the same story and then building on that story in their head, not even with intent, but it just exacerbates over the decades. So I used to not think the drug, I used to not give that much weight. And then upon watching this one, it is the only thing that makes sense to me. Because I don't think she was drugged and then somehow removed from the room. She was sharing it with her family. No one is coming out from the balcony. No one is getting into her room and not waking up people. So could he been hey, if you meet up with me before I got the inn, we could get off and whatever. And then you'll jump back on, meet your parents and whatever. That is the only semi-logical, not even fully logical, but semi-logical thing that I can think of that would get someone to willingly, leave. But then how does that mean that she was able to leave without, when you exit a cruise, you're getting into a foreign territory.
Yeah, so she didn't take any of her stuff.
No, it wasn't her key card shows her getting off the cruise. She didn't have her passport. So I start to get, I don't want to sound like I'm getting into the conspiracy one, but how many people would have to be complicit in getting her off the ship? Since I know I've been on a cruise, you don't just walk off. Right. You're in another, was he like, I can roll you out in a cart and no one's going to check? Like,
Oh, so it could have been like things that like,
mhm.
hey, I have to sneak you out to do this.
Right.
That
But then I'm like,
actually makes, yeah.
who would be like, I'm trying to think, even if I
Yeah.
wanted drugs, telling me, let me sneak you out.
I know.
I'm like, that sounds pretty scary. Like, I don't really think I
Yeah.
want to get snuck off in a cart to Curacao.
Right.
Like, that doesn't give me positive
Yeah.
vibes. So like, again, it doesn't make sense, but that makes the most sense out of the irrational options. I don't think she met up with him. Again, if it wasn't for sexual purposes, I don't see why at
Yeah.
5 a.m. you would be like rendezvousing with someone
Yeah.
after you've been out all night. Like you're tired, you're sleeping. So if it's not sexual in nature, they're meeting, the only other thing I can think would be like he was helping her get drugs or, for partying. So yeah, I don't think they met up and then he knocked her over the head or drugged her or something. That just feels
It could have
really
been accidental. I wonder if it was accidental too. Maybe he accidentally killed her and was like, I don't know what to do.
accidentally. You mean at those later out, like
Yeah, or maybe. Well, yeah, I
Mhm.
don't remember. You're right. The timeline is so
It's so hard. It's such a
it's so
small
hard.
window. But I would have thought that it was an accidental death that was covered up if
Yeah.
she wasn't seen, if we didn't have that key card stamp at 3:40.
Yeah.
So that's the part that makes my brain start to malfunction. The one theory I'll say that I've only heard one theory that ever gave me any pause relating to could she have gone overboard? Because in general, I have a really hard time. Like, I don't think she
Yeah.
committed suicide because
Right. I don't think she did either.
no. And like, even my thing is, okay, someone says, well, we have this message in a bottle and this clearly like distraught emotion she's having regarding her ex or her girlfriend and her family's lack of acceptance. All fair. My problem is that I do not think you go out and party and are acting generally normally, where she's seen dancing on a video with Yellow. So we know she's a generally positive vibe. She's not saying anything like, giving away her possessions, telling her family any kind of, I love you. There's no anything. She's acting normal. Do I think you spontaneously decide to commit suicide within a 40-minute gap? Like, hey, I could jump overboard. No, I don't think, I just don't think anyone is making a suicide decision that way and having acted by all accounts normally all day. I just don't think that is how the brain works.
Yeah.
So I think that has zero credibility. The only thing someone said to me that I thought was interesting was she's back at the cabin at 3:40. I think her and her brother have a cigarette or chit-chatting something. Everybody else is in bed. She's out there. It's 4 a.m. Someone said, what if she started to feel sick? She's been drinking all night.
Yeah.
Granted, I think it was like 7 light beers over 6 hours, but you've been drinking. She doesn't feel good. She feels sick. She takes the chair, pushes it up against the railing to stand on it, because obviously the railing is too high for her to, stands on it to try and throw up over the balcony, and then is leaning over, loses her balance, and falls.
Yes.
Do I think you'd have to be crazy to push a chair up and stand on it? And if you've ever looked over a cruise ship, especially, it'd be pretty dark out. It'd be dark out still. It's terrifying. I have a really hard time believing you could have your, waist and chest over the railing and lean there and not feel like genuinely terrified. Like I feel like butterflies in my stomach just thinking about it.
I know, me too.
I have no fear of heights or anything. And I'm like, no, your body and brain tell you pretty quickly that like something feels really wrong with that. People have gone overboard before. It's not like it's never happened.
Right.
So,
but did they find their bodies? Did they find they would have found her body, right?
They said that in every case you don't, but considering they were pretty much at port, there's some kind of like, the port specifically has specific like barricades or things around it that like make it much more like almost, they claim like a certainty the body would surface.
Yeah.
I know that if they were in the middle of the ocean, that opens up like that is very complicated.
Yeah, right. That's more complicated.
But they said that the tide is, they were like the waves are, the current is really like likely to have brought the body in. So like could it not happen? Have bodies not been found? Like, sure, but the experts in the doc at least made it seem like the body would have absolutely washed out. And they also were looking for it, I imagine, within a pretty small time frame. It wasn't like, oh, we're looking the next day. I mean, they rang the alarm bells about her missing within an hour or two.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know when the search teams would have been deployed, but like, I'm thinking within 3 to 4 hours easily.
Yeah.
We should have had divers
looking
for the body at that point. And so, you know, I would have thought they would have found it. I think that is the only option that could be plausible to me, because I don't see how you fall over the railing. Even the investigator, I think it was the FBI guy, was talking about how he's 6 feet and was saying how high the railing is even to a tall man, and she was relatively petite. So I don't think most people do things stupid enough to be able to get over the railing. It's really not, it's not a natural or easy thing to fall over.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I want to bring up the when the one that everybody is hating them. They have their knives out for online is the cruise director. I don't know if you've seen. People are really mad at that guy, and
don't even. I didn't even see. I wasn't even looking on X or Twitter or anything about it. And I was feeling this like viscerally angry feelings for him. So then I specifically went on X and I typed in Amy Bradley is missing cruise director. Because I was like, I can't be the only one. This is the worst person I've ever seen. And then all I'm finding when I searched it is like, good morning to everyone, but the cruise director and Amy Bradley is missing. Like, hey, I mean, he is a prick. Like I don't, even if there's like credence to the idea of like, you know, it's a cruise ship, 4,000 people or whatever have paid. I don't fully agree with the thought process, but let's say like I've never operated you know, something like of that scale. The way he spoke was so callous, and it was he didn't even pretend to care. He was talking about, you know, I had this bouffant hairstyle and was talking about how I must have been doing my hair when this was happening. And I'm like, you literally think people care about you, and like not one person on earth, even on that cruise ship, care about you. Like no one, I've never thought about the cruise director on a cruise in my life. Like you genuinely think people care, and they do not. He just couldn't even like muster like the
any
concept of empathy. No, not even
like,
good pretending.
And I get what he was saying, that like, oh, I've got to take care of these other people. Like, got it. But he was very just like, sorry, I think that she fell and that's it. And like,
based on what, he said that without any, and then like, again, like I think that Royal Caribbean handled so many things wrong. I think that obviously in hindsight, like I do understand you're saying that like, people paid for a service. We cannot decide to not provide them that service. Fair. Do I think you could have delayed opening up, you know, the gate? Yeah, I think you could have delayed it, because like they said, a Charlie drill takes 45 minutes. Had they enacted the Charlie drill right when this flag was waved that there was a problem, it would have delayed people by an hour. They would have been relatively, you know, would it have affected everyone? Sure, it would have been minimal, if at all, you know. That's one. Two, why was there not an order to not clean the room?
Right. That was
bare minimum. Bare minimum. Preserve you and I are not like FBI. Well, like we should be. But I'm like, the bare minimum is you do not contaminate a crime scene or a potential crime scene or anywhere that has evidence. So the last place she was seen was on the outside of her room on the balcony. That is the most important thing to preserve. They clean the entire room. So we have no idea of anything. We don't have it. We don't
know if she pushed it or not. We don't know if she pushed it.
We don't know if she pushed it, if she got sick. Is there an evidence of her having been sick on the deck? Is there like any of her belongings that were out there that had been moved to another spot? We don't, you know, it could have told us a lot. So I think that like, he's a terrible person in every way and terrible at his job and all the things. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was involved, but I do think that like, I think he's going to watch it and be like, oh, I have to imagine, say, like, I can't believe I come off like such an asshole. And I don't think it's from like villain editing. I think it's because like,
no, I think that's just straight up what he was
I
saying.
think he straight up said like, hey, she fell overboard and that's one family's tragedy and that sucks, but sucks to suck. That's like, that was the nature of it. Yeah, he was pretty unbearable, but like I said, I saw some people online saying, I think him and Yellow were in on it. I'm like, no, I don't.
No, I saw that too. And I'm like, that is, well, for this one woman, that's the other thing. If they're going to, wouldn't they try to traffic multiple? I don't know. Why would they just take one person? And
why is she the one you decided? No, I think crime of opportunity. Like, do I think it's possible that like, Yellow and her, I don't know their interactions, but he's like, hey, she seems like an easy target. She is receptive to my advances. She's whatever. I have no idea what the conversations, but could she have said something that triggered him to thinking she was an easy target? Sure. I do not think everyone on the ship was like, that's the one. Let's kidnap that person. That's
like
insane.
The way her parents are basically.
No, and she doesn't fit the physical type that I would think of as what someone would target as in that way. It didn't like hold water for me. But yeah, I mean, I think the part that always was weird to me when it comes to the conspiracy stuff was I think it happened before Amy went missing that all of her pictures that were taken on the ship disappeared. And that's always really bothered me.
Weird. That's super weird. There are little weird, subtle things like that, details that you're like, why would that happen?
Right. Then that seems like conspiracy. The cruise ship didn't want any, and I'm like, no, I don't.
Unless whoever took the picture, it was like obsessed with her or something.
Right. I mean, I don't. And then, I mean, then it gets into the daughter's call.
Yes, I want to ask you about that. Yeah. What did you think of that? Because I know some people were like, "Oh, this was pointless."
Like, I mean, as someone like from a entertainment, I don't like that word, from a true crime docuseries standpoint, like it kind of reminded me, not in any level of the same impact, but I don't know if you saw the documentary Navalny. Yes. So they have the phone call, like when they're making the call and getting them to admit stuff. Now, it's like, to me, that's one of the great moments in modern documentaries ever. Like, it really is genuinely mind-blowing. That is an example, obviously, of someone making one of these covert calls, trying to get information for the sake of a documentary that totally like blew open a case and did all the things, right?
Yeah.
This felt like they were like, look, we're going to nail him. We're going to get it. And then it was like genuinely like nothing. Like it felt like, I don't know. I from a filmmaking standpoint, I was like, you've really like upped the tension. Like, look what you're about to get. And then it was like, like nothing. I think one, like I do think Yellow is guilty to some degree. I don't know if he's just a mule. I don't know where he falls on the food chain of trafficking and involvement. Do I think he's involved? I do. Do I think it's like brave of his daughter, if she believes that, to be part of it? Absolutely. She wasn't born when it happened.
Right.
She's getting,
secondhand details from her mother, who was not
in a divorce. Who hates her dad. So do I think that is like very, very like muddy territory? Yeah. Like I don't think it adds anything. It said that, and the part that gave me like, I don't know about this, is that the mother said that she found a suitcase full of pictures of Caucasian women.
Yes.
And like, I guess that would lead me to think, like, are you saying this is like dossier of trafficking victims?
Right. Yeah.
Well, like, I don't believe that to be true, because I don't think tens of white or hundreds of white women have gone missing off Royal Caribbean and nobody made it. No, like we would know about that.
Right. But he might like have some sort of like obsession with it, and he could have been the one to take the photo from
That's true. He could be like, he could have some.
Yeah.
And
so that's. There still could be some sort of accidental death where maybe she followed him off right after and
something happened.
And then.
But what would those photos be? That was the thing. It's like it didn't give me information that was like, Yellow. Like I wanted more to be like, oh, I have this information about, I don't know, his behavior after they said it was weird. Okay, but that's very like that doesn't give me anything. But like, we found this suitcase full of white women pictures, and I was like, okay, well, those aren't all victims. Like, I don't know, out of thinking there's something wrong with this guy, or he might have some kind of sick perversion or affiliation with something that's wrong. They didn't identify those pictures to be linked to any other things that were evidence enough for me to like think anything in particular. There is a bit of evidence that was in past specials on this that was left out here that was really weird to me. I don't know why they would leave it out, but in one of the past specials I saw, and my brain is a little fuzzy on it, Brad Bradley, Amy's brother, had said that when they had said, like, you know, to the cruise director or whatever, Amy's missing, they were frantic, looking everywhere before the announcement had made, or before any kind of widespread knowledge had been made about it. Apparently Yellow came up to Brad, and while they were all frantic, said, "Sorry about your sister," with a smirk on his face.
Oh.
This is in a past special. It was left out of this one. I swear it's happened. You could Google it. And so that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's really, they said that it was said with a specific energy that was very, like, again, someone is in a very bad mental space. I can't fully, you know, but that was what was relayed, that he had information about Amy missing before it was made public. Do I think that Yellow is getting the cruise? Like, no, Yellow was a band player. He wouldn't be on any need to know basis with like higher ups of a crisis. So like, if I had a guy come up to me and say something about my missing relative who went missing an hour ago that no one knew about, I would say you're the guiltiest person I've ever seen in my life, you know? But I don't know why that would be omitted from this unless there was some reason to believe something might be dubious about it. But it was definitely said by Brad in one of the past specials. So that was also why I always was so like, Yellow did it. Because like that one bit, just I couldn't shake it, but it was left out of this special. The other thing that was left out, which is very weird, you know, if you've watched Netflix documentaries, this would have been like catnip for them, was that the Bradleys were scammed out of like $300,000.
By a PI, right?
Yeah, by someone who pretended to be like ex-Navy SEALs, private investigator, who said, "I've seen Amy, I know where she is, I can get her out, whatever." And
that's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking.
And that to me, like based on like how they're, you know, they give us like red herrings and like are, you know, getting you worked up and then reeling you back and changing the plot and changing, you know, the direction they're trying to steer you in. I was like, that seems like a whole fourth episode.
I thought that too. And I felt like the third episode kind of just like petered out at the end.
It did.
Kind of, and so that would have been really, that could have been, you're right, the fourth episode, or even like concluding the third.
And sometimes I wonder if like, and you know, the Netflix documentary did feel like it very much had a specific direction it was leading us in, which was, she is a trafficking victim. Like they are very much like, this is not like a documentary that I looked at that was really trying to like give me all the options. I felt like they were steering the direction very directly there. And look, that's the direction I agree with. But like, I think that the PI thing is just more ammo to say, look, these people could be not telling the truth, these eyewitnesses.
Right.
And so I felt like them leaving it out felt like they didn't want to give any more ammo to the idea of like, what people say could be bullshit. Anyone who says they see her, it is just something someone is saying. This guy said it and scammed them out of hundreds of thousands. So again, it's kind of similar to her sexual like identity thing, is that like them leaving it out in the Netflix special felt to me like better for the narrative they were crafting rather than better for for us to have all the information to make up our own mind. I'm like, why would you leave out that they were scammed out of hundreds of thousands? It didn't have to be a whole episode. It didn't have to be too long, but it's certainly a pertinent element of the case.
Because I also thought that I really wish they would have explored the idea of that, you know, how do we know that what these people are seeing is real? Because I'm thinking of like Brian Laundrie with Gabby Petito. Everyone thought they saw him when he was dead the whole time. And I was reading on Reddit, other people were saying like, remember the story of like, people kept saying they saw this family and they were dead the whole time. And I'm sure there's something there. And I kind of wish that they had kind of gone in that direction, or just like at least touched upon it, because I do think Like, do you think that all of those interviews, those people who saw her, do you think they're all credible? Or do you think, like, I feel like the one guy who wakes up every day thinking about it, how he could have helped, I feel like he's sincere. I wasn't sure about the other ones. I wasn't sure about, but I wanted to find out what you thought.
Yeah, it's hard because like, do I think they're all like, I struggle with it because on one hand, I tell myself either I think someone is lying from scratch, like they have made up a lie, which people do all the time. Some people are sociopaths.
Yeah.
Or I think these people saw a white woman who was in distress on these islands, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's Amy, but either they are lying totally, which is crazy, but again, possible, or they did experience someone in distress, right? There's only two options that exist as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think the lie serves them. They didn't get money. They didn't get award money. They didn't get fame. They didn't really get, I mean, they got attention in the sense that they're in this, that like, they've been telling the same story for over 10 years. These same people are in the other specials. So like, and then furthermore, I think that of all the people, specifically the guy who was in the Navy, the one who said he saw her in the secret bar, which is like really a brothel.
That guy, yes.
He comes off badly. And he knows he comes off badly. Like, I mean, for me, I'm like, what kind of man are you? Like, I was very like, I have no forgiveness. I don't care if you thought you were going to get in trouble. Like a woman tells you she's Amy Bradley and that she's been trafficked or she's being held against her will. And you're worried about like getting demoted or losing privileges. Yeah, that sucks. Like but like, you know, I just think that the consequences to him were so minor compared to the impact, the severity of the situation that this woman was in, if we're to believe that that's what he experienced, that he only looks bad. There's nothing, I would never want someone to know that I said, yeah, I saw a kidnapped kid, but like, I didn't want to get in trouble. So I was like, peace. Like I would never, if I did that, I would never want anyone to know that. I would take that to my grave. So like, to me, what would he gain by lying? It's a weird story, but I'm also like, I don't see what the lie does for you. So I have to believe you experienced something. It might not have been Amy, but like, I can't create the motive for what this would do. So like, do I think he encountered I guess he said Southern, white woman who he claims he said her name was Amy Bradley. Do I think he said this so many years later, though, that I'm inclined to believe could it have been Amy? Absolutely. I also think that there's a chance that he saw this special later and did she say her name was this? Like, and piece together, like sometimes the power of suggestion, I think informs some elements of the sighting. So no, I'm not entirely sure that her saying her name is fully credible. But I do think I think all of them came in contact with, it doesn't have to be the same woman, but did have experiences in Curacao or Barbados or somewhere. But, and it's interesting, the guy that has become obsessed with it, I mean, I believe he saw something. It triggered his brain in such an aggressive way. But his sighting was, interestingly enough, the least detailed.
Yeah. Oh,
it was like there was no story.
Tattoo. Yeah, it was just like she came up to him, was going to say something, she didn't. The guy,
there were two men.
Yeah, and he was just kind of like weird.
And he claims one is yellow, which is also then we go way further. Now we're saying that not only was yellow involved, now yellow has been back to the scene of the crime to assist in trafficking her.
Right. Yeah.
He had to have gone back on the ship and continued on the cruise as usual, we're assuming, and then went back to her. So that starts to get, that's a lot of steps for my brain. I think he just helped selling her, and now he's on to the next.
Yes.
So I thought the yellow sighting, I didn't buy that guy was yellow. If it was Amy, I didn't think her, the guy who was like with her was yellow. And, I saw people on Reddit saying like, the people are making a lot about this Tasmanian devil tattoo. And they're like, that was like literally like, you act like that's so unique. That was like the go-to. And great, I don't have any tattoos, but like,
I don't either.
Yeah, but like they said, if you went like the 90s to a tattoo place that like literally, this is like one of the first things you'll see. It was like
Yes.
very, very common. So, do I think it would be weird if you saw a green-eyed, short, dark hair woman acting oddly who had a Tasmanian devil tattoo? Yeah, I think that would be a valid reason to think it's Amy. But like, just throwing it out there that tattoo wasn't as like unique or distinctive.
It wasn't. You're absolutely right. I never even thought of that.
Neither did I. I mean, it's unique to me. I would be like, that's an interesting tattoo.
I would never pick that as a tattoo.
No, I would never get that. I'd get a Babygirl tattoo.
I know, absolutely, yes.
Like mini glass of milk. But yeah, I think that it clearly struck something with him, but it was such a minor moment in his life, and it was so fleeting, and he put so much weight on it after seeing that this woman went missing. It wasn't like he was like investigating, oh my God, I just saw a crime. Like he saw something odd. It triggered a thing in his brain, and then it just left. He went on with his life and never thought about it, is my assumption. And then when he saw this, it's almost like an aha moment. I believe that he saw something weird. I think it could have been Amy. The case that was the one that I think is the hardest for me to believe was the one with the woman in the bathroom.
Yeah, that was the one I was kind of like.
Her story is strange. Even the way, even the stuff she's saying, they were saying felt like a bad crime movie.
Yeah.
Like the deal is being done at 11 o'clock. You better be ready. And I was like, again, this is a serious situation, not to diminish it. Could that have happened? That's terrible. It's just the way she was relaying it felt like if I was having an older woman, right? Like what a drug deal looks like going down. If I asked ChatGPT, write a drug deal scene, and it was like the most, like, let me narrate how I don't think people talk, what they were saying, and this woman's hearing it. Do I think she's intentionally lying? Not really. It feels a bit far-fetched, and she's really laying it on thick in the story enough for me to just kind of I give it the least weight. I think the two men I thought had more that they offered in the story for me to believe it.
I did too. What do you make of the photo? Do you think that's actually her, the iconic photo that was sent anonymously?
It looks like her to me. I mean, the problem with it is that the styling is so 80s, aggressively 80s, and this took place in she went missing.
That would have been early 2000s.
Yeah, she went missing in 98.
Yeah.
In 98, and this photo came many years later. Yeah. So like, I don't know if we're talking 2005 or
I think that's around the time when they got it too. Yeah.
So like, do I think that a prostitution ring in Barbados chose to get this like super teased hair, and even I guess you could. I mean, I was like, this is the very strange way to style someone in the 2000s. It looks a lot like her. And I mean, even the I don't know if it's the FBI. Forensic people are like, I'm always fascinated by how we like identify that someone looks like someone beyond like, they're similar. Like, I mean, they were measuring like the distance from her lip to her chin, the distance of the position of her ears. And like, I mean, many elements of that checked out as a match. So I think it could be. I mean, if I saw that of my family member who went missing, I definitely would probably give it a lot of I would put a lot of belief in it, just because it's a little too striking. Especially it was like clearly a white woman in a Caribbean prostitute. Again, there's a lot of like leaps that I don't think there are a lot of those in my very limited knowledge that I would say that's weird. So
a lot of people were like, why didn't they buy her services after they saw, but I think it was just the photo they were sent, right? They weren't sent a link, right?
I think they eventually found the link, but I don't know if it was like this was from many years ago. Like it wasn't like I don't know if my memory of it was that it wasn't currently active, or it was from long enough ago that they didn't believe it to be current. I mean, my thing, and keeping in mind that a lot of this comes with like privilege of like having the money to send a private investigator, having these resources. But like my thing would be, if I thought it was her, I'm like, guess we're moving to Barbados.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know, if I believe that that photo is her, then I believe she isn't in Barbados. Then we need to freaking,
Yeah.
you know, go to this place and just scour every inch. And easier said than done. It's
Right. Yeah.
well, it's a whole place. It's not like a one cruise ship or one
Right.
room. But I do think that like the fact that Barbados started coming up multiple times is peculiar because
with the IP addresses, which is
the IP
also
addresses,
yes.
it's the woman
Yeah.
claims that the bathroom interaction happened in Barbados. I can't remember if the photo, what country was the photo from?
Was it
Venezuela?
or is that what it was?
I can't remember. So I don't think the picture was from Barbados, but we know that the bathroom interaction that the woman had was in Barbados, and then we know that the IP address that they reveal at the end, that every year there's an IP, a specific IP address in Barbados that is visiting the Amy Bradley is Missing website on the birthdays of family members, on holidays like Thanksgiving and other like key dates.
Yeah.
I think that's really unusual. And they said not only is this Barbados IP address visiting it annually at different times of year on what they claim are key dates, it also is staying on the website for at least 45 minutes, like, which is very unusual. I think, you know, if you or I are on the internet and end up on a random site, like, even if I'm interested in true crime, reading about something, 10 minutes would be pushing it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if I was so fascinated by what I was reading and I'm reading articles and stories and actually like, you know, something that would take you a long time to read, okay, then I'm on it as long as it takes me to read. If it's captured my interest enough, and it probably hasn't, 45 minutes is really pushing it. And for it to be a regular occurrence from an IP address, as I assume as random as Barbados, considering the case, I think that's strange, but I also just have a hard time believing that she's visiting her website on these dates. So she's linked enough to it, but like not even sending a message. Like, even if it was, she clearly has computer access.
Yeah.
There are forums, I'm sure, on the website that say, give us a tip. I think if she was worried about her safety, like visiting the website was already infringing on that enough. I think like, at the very least, I would expect that someone would say like, I'm here, send a message, even if it wasn't, even if she's, you know, they said she could be worried about her, if she has kids.
Yeah, if she has kids.
But I would think that some kind of communication would be made, even if it wasn't a matter of come pick me up here or something. I would just think that if she's regularly visiting the website, that would kind of prompt her to reach out. So I don't know what it is, but I also like cynically, I think that like she would be in her 50s now. Yeah. I have a really hard time believing that somebody has been trafficked since their early 20s. And like at this point, she would have aged out of that being a sex worker. I just don't think they would have, you know, not found her useful for that anymore. And like, my assumption is that these people are like on a lot of drugs, like forced drug use to get them to even be able to function. So like, I have a hard time believing under the circumstances that she would be alive in her 50s and just like living, you know, living in the islands, you know, as, you know, a normal free life. I don't think that anyone is putting the work towards like keeping somebody and, you know, under lock and key. It's just not worth anyone's time. This is a trafficking ring. I just don't think it's worth, I don't think they'd keep her alive long enough to worry about her into her 50s.
Right. Even if she had kids too, which she could have kids, but like
she could, but I don't think they'd keep her. Again, it's a really negative and really terrible thing, but I just don't think anyone is, you know, she doesn't have any money for herself. I don't think anyone is worrying about feeding her and taking care of her. And it just doesn't make sense to me. So like, and I think that like, if we're to take the sightings at their word, I don't think we've heard anything in a really long time. So that there was information from like what, 1998 to like I'm going to guess
2005. And then,
2005.
yeah,
Was
I
there
feel like
anything after that? I'm like looking up the like
maybe
timeline.
2000, maybe 2010 or something. There might have been.
Yeah, I
I
see.
can't remember.
Oh, see, this is what I see. I see 2005 is the FBI got some kind of call. It's around the same time when the woman in Barbados claims she saw her in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Then the last update I see is that in 2010, a jawbone washes ashore in Aruba. Initially thought connected to Natalie Holloway. No DNA test link it to Amy, but for some reason, what I read online is that they never did a DNA test on this. Like they never like did any investigation. They never checked it. So a lot of people were really upset because they felt that like
Yeah.
this is relevant to more than one case. Like they're mentioning Natalie Holloway, they're mentioning Amy Bradley. So like, it seems worth looking into.
Yeah.
No matter the case, whether it's them, whether it's someone from Aruba, I would think that it was, but that was in 2010. So I know that was something that a
Wow.
lot of people were angry about. So, but all that to say, I have no reason to think that's linked to Amy. That's again a lot of mental gymnastics
Yeah.
to get there.
Right.
So the last like credible bit of evidence comes in 2005, which is a really short period of time from when she
Yeah.
disappeared. So like,
Yeah. She could have
do
died after that, really.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
right after
they
that.
could have,
Yeah.
any number of things. She's in really like if this did happen, she's in really distressful situation. I don't expect someone to be able to make it that many years,
Yeah.
unfortunately, through that. So like that's 2005. I have a hard time believing in 2025. 20 years
Yeah.
later, she's like on amybradleyismissing.com and
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm, it's in someone said maybe it's her kids. I think the kids would then write something or reach out.
Right.
Or if
Yeah.
someone is someone's obsessed enough to visit the site regularly, I think that they would be like
Yeah.
reaching out in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I mean that one I'm gonna assume is not her, and it could be somebody. And a
It's like
friend told
just
me that
like somebody just fucking around being a jerk
someone's fucking
too. Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
or like, I mean, I also know that like a friend said that you can like spoof your IP address or make it look like, and I don't know about any of this, but like make it appear to be from a different location. I have no idea how that
Oh.
works. Could somebody be trying to, true crime fans are also like totally crazy sometimes. They want to feel like part of the case. I've
Yeah.
seen in other true crime stuff that I've watched, I've seen people make really creepy videos that looked like they were trying to insinuate they were part of the case, and then the FBI investigates and they are literally just a fanboy or, deranged
Yeah.
follower of the case. So like there are so many things when it comes to that, especially in the internet, that like I wouldn't really trust that, just because if I knew about the case, a lot of other people did, as much as it
Yeah.
wasn't popular or well known on the scale of, John Benet Ramsey or Natalie Holloway or Madeleine McCann. That doesn't mean that it, you
Yeah.
know, thousands upon thousands of people, millions
Yeah.
know about this. So like I would say the internet starts to get into like crazy person territory.
Yes, absolutely. As we start to wrap up here, this has been so much fun talking. You know
Yeah.
so much about this. I wanted to highlight two of the most chilling moments for me
Yes.
of the series. Were one, I was so sad when Brad Bradley, said he's like never had children because he's watched his parents, what he's watched his parents go through. I thought that was such a sad moment. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that just like really chilled me was her ex-girlfriend in that letter in the
The
message in
message
the
in a bottle.
bottle. That was so wild and just like
Yeah.
creepy. I didn't
Yeah,
know if you
that
had
was
any moments that you, were kind of like creeped out
totally.
by. Yeah.
Those, I had one friend that like, we were talking about this and we were both giving our theories and just like very, perplexed by all of it. And she was really disturbed by the message in a bottle moment. And I mean, obviously I was too. I thought that was like really heartbreaking. What was interesting as another friend in relation to that, she's like, this is, she was saying, I think that message in a bottle, the water link and saying I'm going to be at sea, or I don't remember the phrasing, but like, she was like, isn't this proof of suicide? And
Oh.
my other friend was like, I think she was about to go on a cruise. So she had like cruise and ocean analogy on the brain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're writing something and you're getting a little emotional, and like, the brain is very, complex and mysterious. I think I'm about to get on a cruise tomorrow. Could you have been, insinuate using that analogy, obviously unintentionally because it was what you were front of mind. That's what I guess. Cause again, I just don't think that the suicide thing makes any sense. Even if, and it's really sad because when something happens, people say she was having a hard time. I think we're all having a hard time in some way, shape, or form. So I would really hate if something happened to me for someone to say, well, I had a discussion with Lauren and she was really upset about XYZ. I'm like, I'm upset about a lot all the time. Like I'm a Jewish woman. I'm stressing about something 24/7. So please never think I said something and be like, clearly she killed herself. I was like, nope. Didn't. So I kind of, that's kind of what I thought. I was like, she's going through a breakup. She's 20 something. Life is crazy. I just thought that was it made me sad that someone would hear that she would struggle with normal things to struggle with. Coming out to her parents, very normal coming, having a breakup or having relationship issues. And then people be like, she was in a bad mental state, so she killed herself. That felt like a lot of forcing a narrative without much evidence. She didn't do the things that, the letter is sad, but I don't think there were all the other warning signs of suicide that we usually see. But the moment with Brad Bradley made me really sad because I just remember seeing him in the early specials and he was so much younger, 10 plus years ago. And he looked so much older here. He is older, but I just felt like I could see the weight of stress on him.
Yeah. His hair is white. I almost feel like the whole experience turned his hair white.
Yeah. It's like when you see politicians, before and after their presidencies, and they've aged 20 years and 4 or 5 years. It really made me sad because there was something about this case that I think losing a loved one is traumatic for the rest of your life. No matter what happens, you never recover. But I almost wish that it sounds bad to say that. I almost think it would have been better for them if they found her body and she had washed ashore. Of course, we all want to believe that our loved one is still alive and we're going to be reunited. That is of course what I would want for them. But the idea that there was no finality to it, or that they think that their loved one is in distress and that they need to live to find them, or that is going to continue. I'm I think they all could have lived as full of lives as possible had it been considered a closed case death. I think that it would have changed. They all would have been able to move on as best they can. I think he could have recovered from that. But I genuinely think that seeing what his parents went through, and I sort of felt that too, that you're oh my God, I don't think I would ever be able to think about anything else for the rest of my life. And you're could I imagine, I just couldn't even fathom that type of thing. So that was really, really hard for me. That was probably the hardest moment for me also. And in general, I think Iva Bradley, every time it cut to her, that's the mother. It looked like she couldn't keep it together without looking like she was halfway towards crying during any segment she was talking about. And it was really hard because they're talking about this all the time.
Yeah.
And the fact that this many years later, it's still as raw as if it was yesterday. I was it's really tough. It's you watch true crime and, I hate using the word entertainment, but it's a Netflix show that is, a source of entertainment. And then you see the focus on the family, which I did think the show did a good job, is showing the emotional turmoil, which is important rather than just the salacious details. I thought that was interesting, and seeing her friends, and it was really hard. But the family, because I've seen so many interviews with them, it was hard to see. They were so much more worn down in this one than they were in the ones I saw from 10 years ago. And that just seemed, I think the moment that was the hardest for me, other than Brad mentioning never having a family because of the emotional impact, was when they say that they have her car, that they keep it polished.
Yeah.
And it almost when I heard that, it was one of those things where I was it was, you could tell that it's not really, that's not really what they should be doing. That's not necessary. It's a symbol to them. And you could tell I was I almost wish that they could, kind of try to
Move on
take the next step, but like them keeping that car as a symbol that she'll be home tomorrow. It's like, I don't have a lot of hope that that's going to happen. So it was really hard to see them say every day, tomorrow. I just could only hope that like the attention from a show this big gives them some kind of something. But yeah, it was, I think the moment with the car and the moment with the brother were probably the most like heartbreaking.
Yeah. There goes my
so hard.
Well, this is, like I said, it's been such a great conversation. I so enjoyed talking about this with you. Even though it's so sad, it's just,
I know,
you know so much about it. And thank you this was great.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So we usually do a flash forward at the end. So you mentioned you were going to New York. So do you want to, what are you looking forward to this week?
Yeah, I'm going to New York with some friends, which I'm super excited about. Hopefully, going to some Broadway shows. And, I want to get my friends to go see Oh Hi. That's what we talked about.
They have to.
I know. It's like the ultimate like girls outing. I feel like, I'm always in for a man-hating, not that the movie's a man-hating movie, but like, let's just like shit on how terrible modern dating is.
Yes,
and I'm always for that. And then I'm going the following week, I'm going to see the Backstreet Boys in Vegas. So I essentially feel like I'm living in the 90s/2000s.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm here for. But yeah, there's so many like good movies coming out. I mean, like I know Oh Hi is just coming out. I can't wait for people to see that. I'm so excited for people to see Together. I'm not sure if you.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm dying.
Oh my God, it is such a trip. And so I just feel like, and I've been following all the news out of Venice and TIFF and all these exciting, movie premieres that are coming up. So I just feel like it's going to be a really exciting year.
Oh, me too. Can't wait. Well, thank you so much. I'm Megan McLachlan. A big thank you to Lauren Cohen for joining us. Where can we find you, by the way? Do you want to share where we can find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Lauren Cohen Film.
Great. Till next time, good night. Have a pleasant tomorrow.